What's up, everyone? This is the Strange Skull here, back again with the long-awaited Skull Picks, the Cosmic Edition. But not just the Cosmic Edition. I'm finally going to do something I wasn't sure I was going to do on this channel, was current comics to recommend for people to read. I know the comic landscape right now, I can't dress it up. It's kind of bad right now. SJWs have ruined the comic book industry with their bullshit politics. It's just, they're not telling stories. They're not telling stories anymore. They're preaching propaganda. And that's not what comic books are for. Yes, comic books in the past have had propaganda in them. Like, back in the 40s, during World War II, Captain America, Superman, pretty much every comic book character went to war to fight the Nazis. But that was a different time. It doesn't work now. But I don't want to, let's not talk more about this SJW crap. Let's actually talk something good. Now, when I talk about cosmic stuff, that's sort of how the MCU is starting to go. And I thought we should start with what actually kind of set the stage for the modern interpretations of the MCU for the cosmic universe. And it started with this series that, it started actually when I had the ability to start actually collecting comic books weekly. Couldn't do it much, my allowance wasn't that big, but I got to collect a few of these single issued. This was Marvel's attempt to restart their cosmic universe, which kind of went by the wayside in the 90s. And they really kicked it off with this long series called Annihilation. Now, Annihilation, this is a 3-book series. These are the paperbacks. They originally came in hardback. I wish I could have got those, but unfortunately I couldn't afford it at the time. But these are really good. I love these covers, especially like the Silver Surfer for book 2. I love that. And book 3. Now, the story of Annihilation, the background, pretty much, the story of Annihilation is here. It starts with Drax right here. Pretty much how he looks in Guardians. This is where he got this look. And the story it's really a callback to a lot of the older cosmic characters. Basically, the story is Annihilus, who is a Fantastic Four villain and is kind of one of the kings of the negative zone. Our matter universe, our positive matter universe, is expanding, and it's encroaching on the negative zone. And Annihilus is just what his name is. He wants to annihilate things. He literally just wants to be alone in the universe and kill everything. But our positive matter universe keeps expanding, because I think that's actually a theory in physics, is our universe is constantly expanding. Well, in Annihilation, they're kind of using that theory where it's expanding and we're kind of crushing and destroying the negative zone, Annihilus' kingdom. So he decides to declare war on the galaxy. And at this point in the Marvel Universe, all of, the galactic superpowers, you would say, the Skrulls, the Kree Empire, the Shi'ar aren't too affected in the storyline, but they've been weakened. The Kree are in the midst of a government change in the storyline. And the Skrulls are on their last legs, because Galactus has devoured Skrullos, their home planet, so they're not even a threat. And the story starts with the Nova Corps, who, if you've never read the Nova Corps in Marvel Comics, they're not like how they were in Guardians. They're pretty much the Green Lantern Corps, almost. They protect the universe, but pretty much the story starts out on their home planet, where, what the hell was it? I can't remember the name right now. Xandar. With that, it's Xandar like it was in the Guardians movie, and also it ties in with that prison in the first Guardians movie, the Kling. Because in the comics, the Kling is built around a wormhole, and that's where Annihilus comes in, and he destroys Xandar. Kills all of the Nova Corps, except one. Enter Richard Rider here, and he becomes Nova Prime. Pretty much, imagine if, it's kind of like when Hal Jordan became Parallax, and started taking all the Green Lantern rings, and he became all-powerful. Hold on, let me see if I can pull the page up here. Yeah. Right here, those are all of the, Nova Corps gathered. This is kind of like their leader, except, they really don't have, their leader is a computer, world mind. It's the living computer in their helmets. It guides them, kind of, pretty much. It's an AI, and here is Annihilus' army coming through the Kling, and they're wiping out everything on Xandar, the fleet, and the Nova Corps can't stop them. They just, I love this. This, to me, is Marvel, what Marvel used to do, and was so goddamn great at, was these giant pages where they filled everything that was just a feast for your eyes. Look at this. An epic Star Wars, Star Trek level space battle. And here, all the Nova Corps. There's Richard Rider. He's just a Centaurian. The star patterns, that's their ranks. There's some guys here that can't fly and stuff. They use, blasters and stuff. They get completely, wiped out. Here they are, pretty much, they're getting their asses kicked, and Xandar is being destroyed. Because in, kind of the background, Xandar in the comics, it's not really a planet, it's half a planet. Space battles destroyed it, and the thing is too, right here, these are Annihilus' soldiers. They're just giant bugs, and they just eat things. And Richard, right here this is Xandar right here, what's left of it, and this is Annihilus destroying it, and Richard is the last one left. And World Mind, right here, splash page, this is him and one of the last Centurions left, dying, and World Mind just goes into Richard's helmet. Look at this epic splash page, I love it. But he goes into Richard's mind and turns him into Nova Prime. And since he's the last one, and also it's kind of dangerous. It is really dangerous for a Nova to become Nova Prime, because it can drive you insane. Just kind of like how Jordan, when he became Parallax, drove his ass insane. But now, this storyline isn't just focused on Nova. This is Richard Rider, who has always been kind of a joke, because he's Marvel's Green Lantern, he's a ripoff, and he's got the goofy goddamn name. Richard Rider, for God's sakes, Dick Rider. But this book, this series, turns him into a badass. And really kind of reintroduces the Silver Surfer back into prominence, and a lot of Galactus' other heralds too, because they play a key later, because they use them to try and capture Galactus. But also, this series of books introduced me to Ronan the Accuser, and this is why I'm kind of pissed at Marvel for their mistreatment of Ronan the Accuser. in this book. This book series made him a badass. Like, let's see if I can find that. It's one of my favorite pages. Ronan is fighting one of just Annihilus's flunkies. And Ronan's been, like, the whole time, he's been called, like, a weakling by this guy, Ravenous. And Ronan just busts the shit out of his face. And breaks his hammer, the universal weapon, which is a pretty powerful cosmic weapon, and he shatters it on the dude's face. And this is Ronan and the actual Kree soldiers being badasses. These guys, pretty much, they're called House Fiaro. They've taken over the Kree Empire. They're pretty much just like spineless wimps and bankers. They were trying to sign a peace accord with Annihilus, which would be useless because he's going to kill everybody. And Ronan kills them all with his bare hands. And then this is another page. This next sequence I love. There's the Supreme Intelligence, which is the real Supreme Intelligence, not the bullshit that was in fucking Captain Marvel. The Supreme Intelligence here it's been lobotomized. It's the leader of the Kree Empire, and these guys who are like the caretakers, the last thing the Supreme Intelligence said was Ronan's name, because he's been the most loyal. And it's kind of right now, it's in like a living death, because it can't do its job. It's lobotomized. It has no willpower. And Ronan kills it. Puts it, of its mercy. It's just, you gotta read this series. I can't spoil anymore, but pretty much this also set the stage for the Guardians of the Galaxy to come back. And also, man, if you love Super Skrull, he's in this series too, and he kicks a lot of ass in this too. And now that was just part one of Annihilation, and then it led into, now I actually have the hardcovers for these, the sequel, Annihilation Conquest. Now, this wasn't as good as Annihilation, but Annihilation Conquest, it pretty much just picks up right after Annihilation. All of the galactic powers are trying to put themselves back together. The Kree Empire is trying to put itself back together. And this really more centers around the Kree. Like, here's book 1 and book 2. I don't have the dust covers for these. They got damaged when I moved. But these two books, the second book's a lot heavier, but in this series, it brings together two of the scariest things in the Marvel Universe. For one, the Kree Empire is weakened at this point. They're desperate. They really don't have, their military is barely holding together, and they're under attack by the worst possible enemy that could be attacking them. The Phalanx. Yes, the ones from the XMen. They come back, and they are just stronger than ever, a little bit more deadly, and no one knows why, because they haven't really been much of a threat since Warlock went and helped them and calmed them all down. But now they're attacking, and they just seem a little bit more intelligent. And the reason why? Ultron has taken control of the Phalanx. Yes, the most deadliest enemy the Avengers has ever faced now has Borg-like beings under his control. And it's a really great book, and these two books right here brought back the Guardians of the Galaxy. It brought Groot, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, Peter Quill, and Mantis together to reform the Guardians. And by the end of this, Gamora joins. Richard doesn't join. he kind of joins up later, but really he's just busy trying to put back the Nova Corps. Yeah, he's doing his best he can because he can't keep being Nova Prime. It's starting to affect him mentally. And also he just has so much power. He's almost on the level of like Silver Surfer. And that's just, those are two good ones. And to continue, why I said in Annihilation, why the Shi'ar really didn't play a big part in Annihilation. Well, because they're in a different galaxy, but they're going through some other shit sort of around this time. And also because it involves the X-Men. The rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire. This book is awesome. Used to be kind of hard to find. I think you can find it now. I think they've reprinted a couple of times. Now, this is really taking place after M-Day, where Scarlet Witch took away the mutants' powers, and they're down to like 152 mutants. There's not that many of them left. And as you can see up there, there's Charles. Professor X doesn't have his powers. He was one of the mutants that were affected during M-Day, so he doesn't have his powers. And there's a problem here, because this also takes place after an X-Men storyline called Deadly Genesis. To summarize that, it was a cool idea, but I really just didn't like the comic. The idea was, there was another team of X-Men before the international team was made, you know, the classic ones that we, kind of like Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, and Banshee and Sunfire. There was another team that Professor X made up of different mutants. But they all died. Well, except two. This guy right here, Vulcan, and another mutant called Darwin. Now, if you saw X-Men First Class, you saw Darwin. Except he couldn't be killed that way. But Darwin is an extremely powerful mutant because he literally can evolve to any situation. But here's on the back, Vulcan. This is Scott and Havoc's brother. Their mother, when Scott's parents were abducted by the Shi'ar when they thought their parents died, they were really abducted by the Shi'ar Empire. And the problem is, Vulcan here, their mother was pregnant with him, and Emperor Deken of the Shi'ar killed their mother, but they took him out of her womb and kind of artificially kept him alive, and somehow he made it back to Earth. But the problem with Vulcan is, he's fucking evil. He is batshit crazy. And the other scary thing is, in terms of mutant ability, he's an Omega level mutant. And to put that in terms, there's not that many Omega level mutants. Kind of like Jean as the Phoenix, and maybe Magneto to a point, but there's not that many mutants in that category. Maybe like Nate Summers, X-Man, his psychic ability puts him in the Omega class, but Vulcan just has like energy manipulation to scary scales. But in this storyline, Professor X kind of gathers like a group of like rogue X-Men, sort of like his own makeshift team. It's Warpath, Rachel Summers, Nightcrawler, Havoc, and Polaris. They're going to try and find Lilandra, because there's problems with the Shi'ar Empire, and it involves the M-Cran crystal, and that's always dangerous. And Psycho Boy here, Vulcan, they're also trying to stop him because he's making a beeline for the Shi'ar Empire. And they want to stop him. But Vulcan is a little bit too arrogant in his abilities. Like, he pretty much, when he's, like, kicking the shit out of, like, Shi'ar planets, the Imperial Guard shows up, like, right here, to fight him. Now, he puts up a good fight. He kills, a couple of them, like Atom Smasher, and he beats one down, but then he just gets annihilated by the Imperial Guard, because again, they fight as a team, and they just start beating his ass seriously, viciously, and what finally takes him down? The Beast himself. Fucking Gladiator punches his ass so hard he pops one of his frickin' eyeballs out. But I don't know if I'm doing it, but this is a really, really good book. Ed Brubaker, I wish he was still writing Marvel Comics. The man is the genius behind the Winter Soldier. And he really, pretty much rewrote Captain America and made him awesome again. And he does a great job with these X-Men, and just the artwork is beautiful in here. It's a really, really good story. And again, too, if you like the Shi'ar Empire and you like all that stuff, because this is it. If you grew up, during and were reading X-Men comics along that time with, D'Ken, Olandra, and all the Shi'ar stuff, pick this up. If you can find it, again, please don't buy scalper prices. This is a really, really good book. Awesome issues. It's for God's sakes, you got the Starjammers in here, you get the Imperial Guard, you get a bunch of cool X-Men, you get a bunch of just awesome action. You'll love it. Definitely pick it up. Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire. Now, all this stuff I've been showing you leads to another really good book. And this involves another group of Marvel characters, who haven't gotten a lot of prominence. Hold on a minute, gotta get a drink here. And that leads to this. War of Kings. This is a culmination of everything that has started in Annihilation, and it ends here. Because, kind of spoiler for the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire, Vulcan becomes Emperor of the Shi'ar. Black Bolt and the Inhumans go and take over the Kree Empire in this. And pretty much Ronan has been running the Empire. He pretty much lets the Inhumans run it, because they have a claim to it, and there was a deal struck, so Ronan lets them. And this, I think this was a cover. Frickin' Black Bolt and Gladiator fighting. This is just an amazing storyline. This is just, if you're an Inhumans fan, you'll love this book. It's just awesomely written. The art is awesome. And really, this is kind of I would view this as a Star Wars level. Because it's the Kree Empire and the Shi'ar, they go to war. Full-fledged war. Vulcan is he's been expanding the Shi'ar Empire. Pretty much, he's turned almost into a Roman emperor, trying to expand the empire since all the other empires are weak, and he decides to take on the Kree. And it just leads into awesome epic battles between Black Bolt, Gladiator, and also Gladiator and Black Bolt and Vulcan duke it out. Kind of sucks. Blaster right here doesn't really play much of a role. I think he's in more of the tie-ins. Now, I don't have the tie-ins, because this is getting to the part in Marvel Comics where they were just going ape shit with the tie-ins, and it just got to the point where it's I just want the main goddamn story. And you can find this pretty much reasonable priced. This is a really awesome story. Definitely pick it up. Especially if you're a fan of the Inhumans. There's some X-Men in here, but also the Guardians of the Galaxy show up. And almost how you saw them in the movies, that version of the team, but maybe a couple extras, but definitely pick it up. This is really good. Now, those were my cosmic picks, but now, kind of the hot topic issue right now in terms of modern comics. There's really not a lot out there that isn't just shoving politics down your throat. Now, these are kind of my picks for my Marvel category right now. If I had to say like a DC title, the one I really have been getting a lot is Tom King's Batman run, which a lot of people don't like. I gotta admit, I really kind of don't like it now, but I gotta see it through the end. I almost have his whole run. I gotta finish it, but if you want a decent comic to read now, you could probably find a lot of the back issues, but they're up to issue 11. But Mr. and Mrs. X, pretty good book. I like it. This came out of a story in the XMen books, where Kitty Pryde was going to marry Colossus, and she didn't. It was a bullshit year when this came out. They built it up that, Colossus and Kitty Pryde were finally going to get married. She leaves him at the fucking altar. He's kind of crushed, and the whole time during that issue, Rogue and Gambit were kind of making googly eyes at each other. And pretty much, they take over the wedding, and they get married. And chaos ensues, because on their honeymoon, they get abducted by the Shi'ar. And it's just chaos ensues. I really recommend it. It's a fun book. They don't treat Gambit like an asshole. They don't treat Rogue like an asshole. They treat him really good. And it's kind of something I've been waiting for these two finally to settle down. I just like it. It's a good book. Now, this one just started. This one sold out at my local comic shop. I had to wait like a week or two to get this, but so far it only has one issue, but it's a pretty damn good issue. Savage Avengers. As you can see, Wolverine, Elektra, Punisher, Brother Voodoo, Venom, and yes, that is Conan the Barbarian. He's, ever since Marvel got the rights to him back from, I think Dark Horse, or, I thought it was Dynamite, but I think it was probably Dark Horse, they got the rights back, and he's had 2 series, Savage Sword of Conan, which I heard was pretty good, but I didn't get to pick it up. Now, he officially debuted in a storyline called Avengers, No Road Home. I have the issues, but I just haven't been able to sit down and read them yet, but this series is pretty good. It's pretty brutal. Not too big a fan of the artist, Deodato Jr., I think is his name. I'm not a big fan of his artwork. He's really kind of digital. I just don't like how he draws Wolverine. But here's like Conan in the Savage Land kicking some high hand ninjas' asses. But let's get to a good part here. And you'll see what I mean by... Here is Wolverine and Conan fighting each other. Now, I just don't like how Mike Deodato draws Wolverine. I think he just doesn't look right. He's too beefy. Granted, he's kind of short, but he should be, but I just don't like it. But this is pretty good. I think this is spurning out of something from Conan. There's like this cult that are trying to, from his Hyborian age, they're trying to summon like this Cthulhu-like god, and they're abducting people, and they're sacrificing them, and Conan's trying to stop them. And it involves all of these characters eventually getting like drawn, because they're trying to... Because Wolverine's there to save, I think, Brother Voodoo, as they need to they're trying to sacrifice all of these people to summon this god. It's pretty good. Now, here's like the stinger to get you to come back. I'll show you here. And this is how they get the Punisher. And I kind of think it's funny how they're drawing the Punisher like Dolph Lundgren now, but I don't know if you guys can really see it that good. They dug up his family, his wife and his kids. And that's how they're luring him to the Savage Land to sacrifice him. So, Savage Avengers, I think issue 2 is coming out soon, but if you can, definitely pick this one up. It's really good. It's got the Skull's stamp of approval. Now, this is another tie-in to a storyline's kind of going on where they're trying to find the Infinity Stones. Wolverine Infinity Watch. This kind of coincides with Wolverine coming back from the dead. It's good. I like it. Some of you might be your cup of tea, but I like it because it's Wolverine and Loki trying to collect all the Infinity Gems, because now, after I think it's the events of Infinity, or this other storyline was going, the Infinity Gems are now inside of people. And Wolverine and Loki are trying to find all of them. It's pretty good. Wolverine and Loki are just, it's like a buddy cop movie. It's pretty good. They're up to 4 issues now. This is the newest one. I haven't sat down and read it yet, but it's pretty good. It's got the Skull stamp of approval on it. Now, this is not a Marvel comic, but it's new from Dynamite. It's only got 2 issues out. I haven't read the second issue, but they're bringing back Xena, Warrior Princess. Pretty good issue. I like it. It's not... If you're a fan of the old show, they're trying to keep the spirit of it. I just love the covers. Here's the cover to issue 2. I mean, I don't think they have the permission of Lucy Lawless, because in the comic here, here's just a random page. She doesn't look like Lucy Lawless. Now, there's not a lot of, I would say there's really not a lot of SJW politics, except, I kind of watched the show when I was a kid, but then again, I was a kid, so I don't remember much from it, but, her and her companion, I don't know if they were lovers or it was implied in the show, but in the comics, they're lovers, pretty much, but still, that's not a hindrance to make me stop reading it, but really good book. So far, her and her companion, find this town where all their children are going to die, because they've made a deal with this god. It's like all their children kind of like superpowers, but now they have to sacrifice their children, or they're all gonna die, and Xena's trying to save them. It's pretty good. I kind of hope they have Hercules, because they do talk about him in this, you helped Hercules, so I kind of hope if this is successful, they'll do, a Kevin Sorbo Hercules, comic. But, really, Dynamite's kind of, trying to rebuild themselves. I think they have a Vampirella that's coming out soon. I know the Spaceman's probably gonna like that. He likes Vampirella. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this round of Skull Picks. I know I haven't been too regular with this, but I'm going to try and fix that, and I hope you enjoy this, and let me know down in the comics if you guys got any recommendations or anything you want me to check out. Just let me know down in the comments, and let's keep this discussion going, and please just keep this in mind. Don't let these pricks ruin comic books. And the other thing, too, I think I should say is, don't feel obligated just to buy comic books. Buy good comics. As you have, just like everyone has been saying, vote with your wallet. That's the only way these people will understand. Because how they write comic books now, it's kind of horrible. they're not like how the comics we grew up with, where if we were going through tough times, you could read a Spider-Man comic and get a sense of, Peter Parker goes through a lot of shit, but he still puts on, he's still brave enough to continue the fight. Or old X-Men, where if you felt like an outsider, you didn't fit the norm, you were weird, you were too big, too small, didn't fit in with the rest of the kids. The X-Men taught you, it's not exactly a bad thing to be different. You're still a person. It made me feel accepted as a kid. I had the X-Men. I was different. I didn't have my dad. I was in a different religion than everyone else. I was the weird kid. I didn't have a mom. I just had a mom, didn't have a dad. But I had the X-Men. I had the cartoon and some of the comics and the figures. But that's what these people now writing comic books don't understand. These comic books are not your political bullhorn. These are stories to entertain and to just help people just feel good and maybe take some inspiration. But then, what do I know? I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Skull Picks. I'll see you around. Take care, guys.